What is up, ladies and gentlemen? It is Cjthecheesedj here, back with another ARK INSIGHT video, and today we're taking a look at, you guessed it, the direwolf and the Sabertooth. Now, you may remember these guys from a very long time past when they were actually relevant in ARK, but nowadays they kind of sit on the sidelines to all the new dinos that have come out. Don't get me wrong, they're still fantastic mounts, but they pale in comparison to what they were before in the good old classic vanilla ARK days. But anyway, look at his pretty little green eyes. We're going to take a look at him and go into more detail, and hopefully we can find some cool new stuff out about him. Now, already the Sabertooth only has a base health of 250, as you can see there, while the direwolf has much larger by about 70 points in 330. So, already you've seen that the direwolf has a larger health pool, and he also has the highest stamina amount. You can see there 260, while the Sabertooth only had 200. So, this is going to be interesting. We're going to see how this goes. And next up, we're going to test their movement speed. So after running the course, the Sabertooth completed it in 5.75 seconds, as you can see, but he managed to do it without running into a house, which may have made a slight difference. Anyway, the Sabertooth managed to complete the course flag to flag in 5.75 seconds, which is faster than the direwolf, sorry. Sabertooth's the one I'm running on now. So next up, we took a look at the direwolf. The direwolf completed the course in 6.5 seconds. That's an extra 0.75 on top of the Sabertooth. Now, this speed doesn't make much of a difference. However, the direwolf makes up for that with a longer jump. You can see that his is longer than the Sabertooth's, but we will go further into detail of that further on in the video. So we then tested their stamina, and the Sabertooth was able to run continuously through the use of his stamina for a total of 28.2 seconds, which is quite a bit of time if you think about it. Once you put a few more levels into it, you'll be able to run for quite a bit of time. Now, we didn't factor in his jumping, which uses a substantial amount of stamina. You can see there the bar depletes by a little bit. Now, the direwolf did have a lower amount at 25, which you'll see later. So the direwolf managed to run around for 25 seconds. Now, we also didn't factor into jumping, but so far, due to the direwolf having a higher stamina, you see that the Sabertooth only had 200 stamina. The direwolf has 260 stamina. So his stamina use is obviously a lot higher than the Sabertooth's, which we expected to be able to run shorter than the direwolf, considering the direwolf had greater stamina. Next up was their swim speed, and you can see here, it's not good for the kitty cat. Considering cats don't like water, you can see here, he's not very fond of it. He's taking his sweet old time, not bothering to get out of it or anything. He's a very slow mount in water, so I definitely wouldn't recommend traversing aquatic terrain with the Sabertooth. Just because he's pulling a silly little face there. He just looks like he's trying to break through the top of the water, but he just falls short, poor guy. So yeah, definitely don't bother taking the Sabertooth into the water, but you can see he's very slow with it, so doesn't reflect his movement speed on land at all. The direwolf, however, did not fare much better. You can see here he's actually slower than the Sabertooth in water, which is strange considering he's a canine. Oh, and there's a storm going on outside. You'd think he'd be faster in the water, but, you know, it doesn't look like that at this stage. He's kind of just floating there. He's chilling, taking his time, leisurely strolls through the water. But once again, definitely don't take these guys into the water unless you level up their oxygen, which in turn will actually increase their movement speed in the water, as well as increasing their movement speed will increase their speed in the water. Did you get all that? So increasing their oxygen increases their movement speed as water, as well as increasing their movement speed. There we go. Summarizes it a little bit better for you guys. Okay, next on. Okay, next up we took a look at their turning radius, and you can see here the direwolf, he's got a pretty good turning radius, nothing really too bodgy about it. Now if you start sprinting a bit more, still rather good. I mean, it's not the best of turning radiuses, you can see there, it's not the greatest, but it's still pretty decent considering he's a mid-sized mount that you can use. So I definitely give a thumbs up on the direwolf's turning radius, but for now we'll move on to the Sabertooth. So the Sabertooth's turning radius was pretty much just the same as the direwolf's. Not really much of a difference. I would say that the direwolf has the smaller turning radius by the looks of it. The Sabertooth's turning radius is slightly, I'm going to say slightly larger than the direwolf's. You can see here we're kind of lapping around, but I'm going to say it's bigger than the direwolf's. I'd say the direwolf has a smaller turning radius. Alrighty, next up a new section that we haven't previously discussed in any of the videos. What can these dinosaurs be immobilized? So the direwolf, like many of the other dinos, can be immobilized by the bowler, as well as bear traps, the small bear traps, the large bear traps, and plant species wise traps. So that's something new that we're hopefully going to be able to include in the next videos. So now we'll take a look at what the Sabertooth can be immobilized by. Alrighty, so just like the direwolf, the Sabertooth can be immobilized by the exact same things. The bowler, the bear trap, the large bear trap, and the plant species Y trap. Excuse me if you can hear the thunderstorm going on outside. I'll do my best to edit that out. Here's hoping it works. Alright, next up we're going to look at their melee damage. So the direwolf has a base melee damage of 33, and all you have to do to figure out how much damage he does is times that by his melee damage, which you can see here is 121.9, and that gives us the amount of 39. So per strike, the direwolf does 39 damage per bite. Now he only has one primary attack, he doesn't have a secondary attack or anything like that, so he has at a disadvantage considering his primary attack is not that powerful. The Sabertooth, however, has a weaker attack than the direwolf. The direwolf had a base melee damage of 33, while the Sabertooth only has a base damage of 29. So all we had to do to calculate it once again is 29 times his melee damage, which is 121.9, and that gave us the amount of 35. So per melee strike, the Sabertooth does 35 points of damage. Now once again, he also only has the one primary attack, just like the direwolf, which once again puts him at a disadvantage. Although considering he has those fangs, you'd think he'd be able to sink those into his prey or something like that. I mean, he kind of does it when he jumps, but it's kind of like a half attempt. He's like, rah, I'm scary, and then just decides to stop. So, you know, hopefully they introduce a secondary attack for the Sabertooth where he digs his teeth into dinosaurs, because that's pretty much what he was known for. Next up, we took a look at their stat increments, and the direwolf has the larger health gain by quite a bit, by about 11 points. He has 71 health per level, while the Sabertooth only gains 59.4 health per level. The direwolf also gains a higher amount of stamina at 83 and a higher amount of oxygen. Now, while the Sabertooth does gain a higher amount of weight, that's really not justifiable between the two. However, their melee damage is the same at 3.8 and their movement speed is the same at 3.3. Next up, we took a look at their torpor. And as you can see from this chart, a level 50 Sabertooth only took 6 headshot trank arrows, which is a pretty good amount. However, the direwolf took 7 trank arrows to knock out. Now, the direwolf did have the higher torpor depletion at 1.1 per second, while the Sabertooth only had a torpor depletion of 0.6 per second. We then decided to take a look at which one gathered more keratin and more hide. Now, as you can see, there is a pack in front of us. That was our dead thylacoleo that we decided to kill. And you'd be surprised, actually, the direwolf was the one that managed to gain more hide and keratin than the Sabertooth. The direwolf managed to gain 33 keratin and 29 hide from the thylacoleo body, while the Sabertooth only managed to gather 29 hide and 32 keratin, which actually surprises me because in the dossier it does say the Sabertooth is better at gathering. But, well, that nullifies that theory. Now, before I continue on, there is one thing we have forgotten to mention. The direwolf does not require a saddle to ride. You can see here, you can run him bareback and look majestic as ever doing it. Notice how we're not floating in the air as we do while we're on our other mounts. So the direwolf doesn't need a saddle to tame, which makes him a rather invaluable dinosaur because if you're a low level, you don't really need to worry about crafting a saddle for him or being a certain level to be able to craft that saddle. So that makes the direwolf kind of invaluable. As well as that, he also is the one that gathers more hide and keratin and chitin than the Sabertooth, which is what you want in considering you're going to want to eventually build yourself up to a metal base, and that requires a lot of cementing paste, which means a lot of keratin and chitin farming. We then tested their jumping ability, and you can see here the direwolf is pretty much the winner. He manages to beat the Sabertooth in jumping ability by a slight amount, not much. You can see there the gap between the two is about half the body of a direwolf, but there isn't much of a difference, but still that can make quite the difference in a battle or trying to escape from your prey. So you can see there there's about half a body length distance between the two. Next up, we made them fight each other. Now you can see here we are unclaiming them. They have both been set to aggressive, so we are just unclaiming the Sabertooth now, and then we will activate the command and give them the go-ahead to fight to the death. We're just going to back up a bit here, because we don't want to be eaten alive. Alrighty, here we go. Let's watch the carnage unfold. And you can see here they've targeted each other straight away. Now, quick summary on the two. Direwolf. Hands down the direwolf. You're gonna, I would say go the direwolf. He's got the higher melee damage. He's got the no saddle requirement, which is also amazing. And you can see here it's glitched out because the direwolf, whoops, has killed the Sabertooth. Now, granted that, where'd you go? Come back. Where'd you go? Come here. Granted, there isn't much of a difference between the two in terms of health. You can see that he was only barely alive on about, I'd say about 70 health. But the fact that this guy does not need a saddle, the fact that he has the higher health, the higher melee damage, the higher jump speed, as well as he's got the ability to howl. That's what wins it for me, the howl. So he also gathers the higher amount of keratin. I would definitely go with the direwolf, hands down. Well, you saw that battle, guys, and that's it for today. That's another ARK Insight done. Let me know what you guys want to see down below. I do have plenty more coming up. Believe me when I tell you that. There's just so many that I'm struggling to get them all out. But hopefully I'm trying to do one a day, so hopefully that can keep you guys at peace. Please don't rip my head off. I like to live. I like making videos for you guys. But for now, guys, thanks for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.